The word lunacy derives from lunatixis, meaning of the moon or moonstruck. And that is the perfect definition for the model we're working for today. Hello, children. This is your dear old Uncle Fuzzy, and I welcome you to my painting shack. Today is a very special video because it is my first one ever. And to top off the occasion, I am going to be painting this. Isn't he lovely? This is a Loonboss from the Gloomspite Gits Age of Sigmar tabletop game. You can get these at any local gaming shop, hobby store, or you can go to their website. That's always fun. We're going to be painting this from start to finish. Starting with taking it off the sprue. In case those of you who don't know, a sprue is this, also known as a screen. Models are placed on this, molded in plastic, and you cut these out to put these on. I know some of you are saying, but we already know what a model is. We know all this. I understand that, but that little knowledge kernel was for the people who have no clue what I'm talking about. A lot of people don't. So, without further ado, let's slap some paint down. Alright, so I've got my model here. He's all in pieces. I've taken him off the sprue. I'm going to show you a little trick to help with mold lines and whatnot. I don't actually think there's any on here. Here we go. Okay, you see how there's this mold line here? I don't know if you can actually see that. Sorry guys, new camera. So I'm basically starting everything from scratch right now. What I'm going to do is take my X-Acto knife, and you want to just very lightly scrape along the mold line. And this is also good for, if you can see it there. Oh, actually, you really can't with this camera. But there are certain spots where you can see mold lines. Now, here we go. Is there a mold line there? Well, this one isn't really going to worry about it because this one's going to be buried. Okay, so you get the general idea. You want to be very careful with these because you can hurt yourself. Believe me, I've had enough cuts with these things. They suck. But we've got our model here, and I'm going to go ahead and get this sprayed up, and we'll be back. And we're back. It took a bit to dry. You'll notice that the head of my Loonboss is sitting on this lovely little cork. You can get these at any hobby store. They're really good for holding smaller pieces. We're going to go ahead and dive into this. The head itself is going to be hidden behind this mask, so there's not really a whole lot you have to do with it. I'm going to go with CW's Orc Flesh Contrast. I usually use these for what I call battle ready. Gives a nice contrast, some shades, some highlighting. It's very simple, one application. Shake the pot up. You'll notice the second color here. We'll get to that later. The head is basically going to be two colors. Very simple because of the fact that it requires, because it's hidden. I've got an Artist Loft Necessities brush. I picked these up the other day. I actually like the way they look. I normally use a GW brush, but it's being fixed up right now. Now, the great thing with this contrast is you can actually get it directly out of the pot. Normally, with GW paints or any paints in general, you want to put a little water or contrast medium. Me personally, unless I need to thin it down to, unless I need to really thin it down, I don't generally use those. This is something like glaze mediums, things like that. But we're going to go ahead and start painting this. So as you can see, it's going on pretty smooth. And keeping it on this keeps my fingers from turning green. Which is very useful. Okay. When you're okay, and that is that. Let's see here. Can we get it? I've got to figure out how to adjust this. But it's green, so always cover your paints. If you're not using contrast like that, always cover your paints because you don't want to spill. It's wasting valuable money. Let me see. Can I adjust this in any way? Just my hand there. Can get little orc dude. Come on, little goblin dude. Focus. Focus. I think that's the best I'm going to be able to get. But if you can see how the paint has fallen into the crevices and whatnot, creating shadows on their own. We're going to let this dry, and when we come back, we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to add the eye color. Alright, so we've got our model dry, and we're going to take some Wazdaka red. You see that right there? Yeah. This is another GW model. A lot of my paints are GW simply because it's the only ones I can find at the moment. I can get some Reaper. I can get some Vallejo on occasion, but my main source of paint is the Citadel. I can get creative at times and use other things, but for the most part, we'll take some of the Wazdaka red on palette here. So there's that. Again, cover your paints. Set it to the side if you're not using them. Switch over here to a 118 or 18/0. I'm not really sure why they label these like this, but as you can see, it's a very, very fine tip brush. Perfect for small details. So, set that over there. I'm going to take paint on the brush, and we're going to you see that? Very carefully put some red in the eyes. Flip it upside down, do the same thing. Most of the, as they call them, greenskins, orcs, iron jaws, things like that, gloomspite gets, they have green eyes. I don't know why, they just do. But that looks good. I don't know if you can actually see that. This camera. Try to get in here. I've got this halo thing on my head. It's for, just noticed a spot that was behind the ear that's not green. And you ask, Uncle Fuzzy, why are you worried about a spot behind the ear that's not green when it's going to be covered by a mask? Well, to answer your question, the ears actually go through the mask, which is kind of neat. It's kind of like a covered helmet that they do. I don't know. That's just how they do it. Alright, so that will be set aside. Let that dry. Set that aside. Set that aside. And then we will work on the next thing. As soon as I can get another... I had a bunch of those. Just trying to find it. Where did it go? Huh. I could have swore I had more floating around here somewhere, but oh well. He's fairly dry, so we can just take him. Pop him there. Or you can actually see him. And the next thing we're going to move on to is the armor. Now, the armor is in 2 pieces, so what we're going to have to do, take a little glue. Get out of there. Okay, teachable moment. When your glue tip, if you're using the Citadel plastic glue, if the tip clogs, there's 2 ways you can fix that. Remove the tip completely, blow through it. I don't recommend that all the time because it doesn't always work. Another little trick is you take a bobby pin, again being very careful with sharp objects, and stick it in the hole, pull it out, and then the paint of the glue, haha, flows freely. Where the glue flows like wine. I don't know where that came from. Anyways, okay. Again, I was talking about the ears. You see the hole there? The ear slides into the hole there. And then we take and we glue the outer edge just around where everything connects. Now, you don't have to go all the way around. Of course, your model doesn't have to sit together either, but that's neither here nor there. And I'm going to take this half, and we're going to, there we go. Now, as I said before, the ears show through, which is why we made sure they were nice and painted. And this is going to be a pain in the butt. Yep, it's going to be a pain. It's going to give me a pain in the tuchus. Gotta love GW sometimes. Anyways. Okay, so that is that. All right. So we're going to take our piece here. I'm going to switch out. Put our paints up. It always helps if you have your paints separated. I know it seems kind of a little weird, but trust me, paints are best separated. Now, because this Git is a worshiper of the bad moon, haha, the bad moon. So we're going to do 3 shades of yellow. Got the Avalar Sunset, the Uriel Yellow, and some flash Gits. Now, little trick. This is probably This goes back to my way of no way painting. For those who don't remember, it is basically take your style from multiple sources. A wise comic book character once said, if you take your inspiration from only one place, it becomes stale and rigid. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take... yeah, we'll do this one. I'm going to take the Irridian yellow, which is a brighter yellow, and I'm going to paint this the Irridian yellow. Now, you're thinking, okay, why are you putting a contrast paint on if you're just going to go ahead and do 3 bases? Or 3, you got your base, you base your 2 shades. I'll tell you why. This gives you a good sense of where your shadows are going to lie when the light hits it. Because the contrast is watery and it's going to slip into all the little cracks and crevices and give you some nice edge detail, showing you where your edges are. But unfortunately, see here we've got a little bit of paint's kind of wore off a bit, so we want a nice crisp color. So you noticed before I had the white in there. That is actually a Reaper color base primer. Reaper makes an excellent primer. Good for days where it is raining cats and dogs and you don't want to step in a poodle. Ah! So, we're going to touch this up here a little bit. Maybe we can seal in the crack because there is a little bit of a crack forming. Just remember, crack kills. Yes, I know, I'm full of uncle jokes today, and that's why they call me Uncle Fuzzy. Okay. This is a little, the pigment's a little thin on this, so it takes a couple coats to get a good white. You could easily go with a white scar from Citadel, or you can go with a white matte. Basically any white color would do the same, but I already had that on the paint palette, so I already had that on my wet palette, so boom, we'll just use that. No big deal. Yeah, I know, that was Nickelodeon, no one cares. Haha. Okay, so you're going to be very careful when doing this step, or painting in general, especially if you have something underneath that's already been painted. You want to be careful to avoid the eye sockets, because then you'll have to redo everything, and that's just irritating. So we're going to take some sticky tack. You can get this at Walmart. Heck, you can get this in any kind of store. Hobby stores, Walmart. It's basically, it's sticky tack. Everybody knows what sticky tack is. So, alright, we're going to sticky tack you there. I love saying that. Sticky tack! Alright. Clean that off. So, we got the Irridian yellow. Now, the only drawback with these contrast paints is you got to shake them up really good. Because all the pigment, for those of you who don't know, most paint is a pigment or a color suspended in a fluid. Usually it's water, or some cases it's alcohol, not the drinkable kind, the regular kind. Some cases it's a lot of other things. And I know I'm stalling for time to try to get my boy over here to dry. A little hot air always works. Haha. Alright, what do we got here? We got a good pigment. We got the Irridian yellow. Oop, a little bit of water. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you see how it's starting to pool in certain areas. This will give us a good indication as to where our shadows are going to be. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and probably for about 50 times, because I repeat myself. This is my first video, so production is going to be a little crude and whatnot, but I'm hoping that if this video goes well, I'm not wanting to go viral. Lord knows I'm not, I personally don't think I'm the best painter, which is something my old art teacher in high school used to say. You are your worst critic. So it's always best when you're doing this kind of stuff to get an outside opinion. Preferably someone that is not either A, a friend, or B, you're sleeping with. Ha! So, we got that there. Knock this out right about. And in the immortal words of Cyborg, booyah. Booyah, yeah, 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 boo. I'm ranting to save time because I don't like silence. Alright, so while this is waiting, let's see here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll let this dry. We'll come back to it and we will finish up. Alright, think we're pretty well dry. There's still a couple of spots that are still shiny, so we're going to let them dry. While we're letting them dry, we're going to go ahead and paint his Weedle body. And we're going to go with Lead Belcher. Another base color from our old friends at Citadel. This is a metallic color, as you can obviously tell. Making Uncle Fuzzy, duh. But you can do a non-metallic. Personally, I'm not up to that kind of skill yet, but when I do metallics, if I do a metallic, I do metallics. Okay, so we got a little bit on the paint. We'll paint on the brush. And we're going to go ahead and cover him with the Lead Belcher. Now, most metals that you paint, Lead Belcher is going to be the base. And I hear you guys saying, Uncle Fuzzy, you've said base and layer. What in the name of Sheogorath's beard are you talking about? Well, CW, in their infinite wisdom, has broken down the painting into several types. You have bases, which, as the name suggests, is the definitive base layer for the model. It's the base color. In the case of the head, that is yellow. In the case of the body, that is metal. Now, from there, you have several other layers, which, as the name suggests, layer on top of the color. These can either add shading, darkening areas, or they can add highlights. And with the highlights, there generally tend to be brighter colors, a little more sparkly, as the expression goes. Let's see. Especially with like the metals, a lot of the metals are sparkly, so it's very, very cool. Okay, so we got our lead belcher. Metallicized. Now, there's another way to do shades, to do shadows. It's called shade colors. These are generally super, super watery colors that you're going to want to add. We'll add that to the lead belcher. We don't need to add it to the yellow because we did the contrast, and the contrast will act as a shading. That needs to be reshaken. I'm going to shake this pot up a bit. Now, we'll go with, let's go with something, we'll go with a 0.5. Put a little paint on the pad, a little water. Brushes are new, so they need to be a little bit here. We want to thin the consistency. So generally speaking, you want to take your thumbnail, and the more of the thumbnail you can see underneath the paint, the thinner the paint is, and the more watery it is. There's general consistency. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to apply it underneath where the shadows have fallen to sort of give a, not an undercoat, I guess that would be the best way to describe it, but sort of to kind of show that light is hitting it. The mark of a good model is to be able to see where the shadows are no matter what direction you're looking at it. So we take this Averland Sunset. New brush, and it's already falling apart. That's what you get for buying a brush on sale. Okay, now, there doesn't look like much of a difference now, but trust me, when we start adding the highlights, it's going to be awesome. I'll take a little bit of the shadowing here, down, come up underneath the jaw. Just kind of take that yellowish off, or that orangish, yellowish, orangish. That color that's not quite part of the group. Alright, so we're going to blend this down a little bit more. There we are. Now, we're going to take the next color, which is going to be our Uriel Yellow. And we're going to show you a technique called glazing. Love that word, glazing. It's almost like blazing, but not quite. But in some states, more legal. Ha! Yes, I do a lot of bad jokes. Stay tuned for the comedy hour, folks. Alright, so, no, still there. And a little more yellow, more water. Okay, you see how that's barely visible? That's what you want. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the base here. We're going to glaze upward with that color. You're going to leave the color at the top. That's where it's going to settle. And then once it dries, It's gonna be a beautiful butterfly. No, I'm kidding. It's gonna be a Gloomspite Git. And he's going to be Worshipper of the Bad Moon. Now, you want to hit highlights just where the light is going to. Stray hair. Now, as you can see, color is eventually going to build upwards to a nice bright color. Glazing also has the added bonus of sort of just kind of blending all the colors together, making them just kind of seem seamless. I know that just made no sense, but what are you gonna do? Alright, so we got the head looking good. We're gonna switch to our next color. Dry off that brush. Okay, we're gonna do Flash Gets Yellow. This is gonna be our final color before we put in the. It's gonna be our final color. So what we're gonna do is we're actually going to blend that off there. We're going to blend the Uriel yellow and the Flash Gets Yellow to get a good mid color, because it's very bright. The Flash Gets is very bright compared to the Uriel. You can tell here. That's the Uriel. That's Flash Gets. You want something in the middle. So again, you're going to go from the base up, but you're not going to do as much or as high up. I think I put a little too much on there. So this is going to be mid-tones. Yeah. All right, now here comes the fun part. We want our highlights. So we're going to take the Uriel yellow by itself, and we're going to hit the very top part of the model, the very outer edges of what is the yellow. Also, I'm going to take a little bit of hitting on this, kind of drop that paint in. Do underneath the eye. This is basically, you want to put this anywhere the light is going to shine, and you'll be able to tell the light shining because of the contrast we put in, which is why we do contrasting first, kids. Yes, there is a method to my madness, and just enough madness in my method. So we're covering that. So that head, I'm gonna blend that up a bit. So it's not so orangey down there. There we are. And that is what you call getting ahead. Ha! Yes, I'm full of the jokes today, kids. I'm going to take a little Uriel yellow. Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and paint this little moon symbol here. And you can't. Yeah, there it is. Okay, very bright. Okay. So now I'm going to put these up. It's always a good idea to put your paints up when you're done with them. That way you don't have 50 colors sitting on the ground, which is something I'm guilty of. Let's see, we're going to need, yeah, that, aha. So, now, we're going to move on to actually, we're going to set this to the side. One thing about sticky tack, it's sticky. So, you notice the butt is still unpainted. We're going to set that aside for now. And we're going to work with this lovely little feller. Work on the legs. We put the legs together, we put the legs on the model, then we can paint the butt. So we're going to get, yeah, go ahead and get our colors back. Do our yellow. We got our metals here. We got our yellows, we got our metals, and we got our greens. No. Really? Where did it go? Ah, there you go. Okay, so now, most people, when they paint, they start outward and work their way towards the inner pieces. I have done that, and it works depending on the size of the piece and the positioning of the inside parts. In this particular case, I think we're going to go from the inside out. We're going to work on this leg first. So we're going to get a little orc flesh. There. That's a base. That's finding my colors here. Loonboss. No, that one. Yeah, that'll be good. Making up colors on the fly. Generally, I would have this all together, but okay. So what we're gonna do is, for the skin, we're gonna start with again orc flesh. We're gonna do Calibite green, and then we're gonna do highlights of the war boss. Now, again, I'm not doing shading yet because the orc flesh is gonna act as my shading. So, was that me? Or was that the cat? I have cats, so. And a dog. And fish. I like animals, what can I say? Alright, orky fleshy. Little paint on the brush. Cover this in the orc flesh. A good solid layer. Normally I would have music in the background, or I'd be watching a show or a podcast or something, just to kind of lighten the mood. But because I'm talking to you lovely people, that won't happen. But it's okay, because Uncle Fuzzy loves all his children. I know I sound like a cult leader. Sorry. I probably should explain the origin of the Uncle Fuzzy. Um, when I was, well, when my goddaughter was younger, she couldn't say my real name, which I won't disclose here. So she would, in fact, call me Uncle Fuzzy. She would call me Fuzzy because I'm a rather hairy individual. Not Robin Williams hairy, rest his soul, but hairy enough. And, so Fuzzy just kind of stuck. And it's become a nickname for anyone who has kids and just, you know, it's one of those nicknames that kind of permeates. And I like it, it's rather cute. So I figured, why not roll with it? Alright. Alright. We got the legs. You know what? Well, we've got the orc flesh out. Might as well kill two birds with one stone. Go ahead and paint all of the fleshy parts of this orc. Well, I say orc. It's not an orc. It's a git. Gits are the old world version of the goblins, for those of you wondering, what are you talking about? Well, GW did their Warhammer Fantasy. I didn't come in until Age of Sigmar, which is what the current meta is right now. In the world that was, you had goblins, which is what the Gloomspite Gits, or the Gits, wound up becoming. Gits and Grots. They're both basically the same thing. Like, I guess like cousins. I don't know. It's hard to describe sometimes. GW's still working on lore stuff, so hopefully we'll get a little better classification. All I know is that they're fungus people. Those of you who play 40k, they are orcs. And 40k orcs, they spring out of the ground, out of mushrooms. They popped up out of the ground like daisies. Actually, it's more like mushrooms, but what are you gonna do? You know, all things being equal, I think I'm not gonna do too much with this as far as color goes. The contrast seems to be doing a fairly good job of highlights, lowlights, shadows, and shading. So I'm gonna set that aside. We got that, we got that, we got that. And I think we've stalled sufficient time to allow the leg to dry. Alright, now I'm gonna go in. Yeah. Even with the wet palette, metal colors dry quicker than their non-metallic counterparts. So you always want to keep a pot on hand. Alright, so now let's see here. Basically making this up on the fly as far as color goes. I had no real color scheme. You always want to have a color scheme, like a general idea. makes painting a lot easier and goes a lot faster, generally speaking. And, I say generally speaking all the time, but generally speaking, it does make the painting a lot faster if you know exactly what colors you need, have them on hand. I'm going to do back here. There we are. I've almost, without thinking about it, made this a contrast consistency. Huh. Go figure. Mm-hmm. If I could find the others, there would be multiple of these little things floating around with parts on them. Would make things a whole lot easier. But since I could only find the one, let's work with what we have. Everybody says you want at least 2 coats of paint. 2 thin coats. Generally speaking. There's that word again. Word of the day. Generally speaking. No, phrase of the day, I should say. Generally speaking. Those of you too young to remember, they had kids shows that would have a phrase or word of the day, which would cause the host and everyone else in the show to spaz out for a moment. Yeah, he said the word of the day. Woohoo! And we're going to do in here. I need to thicken that back up with some more paint. Sometimes you can get your paints too watery. It happens, especially with like metallic paint. It's not good to have it too watery. You want a good coverage. Going back over 2 thin coats. I'm not mocking anybody. It's just I do it for fun. Okay. Last one. Before we get into the yellow. Alright. You know what? This is dry enough to hold. touch the butt. I paint the butt. There. Alright. Go ahead and, since we're on this metal kick, go ahead and paint this moonsicle thingy. Yes, I know, technical term, moonsicle thingy. Alright, get back here. Alright. There we are. And we'll do that one last. Just because of how it's positioned and everything. Alright, now. You know what? Yeah. I'm going to break up this foot a little bit. There you are. Again, I drop things. I drop things. It's what I do. Cat hair everywhere. Alright. Okay, now get back into the yellow. This time we're going to do base color first. I know you're thinking, well, wait. You said to always do. I said, you can do. You said always do contrast first. Well, you can do contrast or you can't. It's really up to you. Again, way of no way. Take your style. Take style from others and add it to your own. I think this might be too watery. Yep. We don't want the yellow running into the metal, so dry that off. A little more Uriel. Sounds like, no, it's Averland, sorry. Averland Sunset. My brain, I swear. Lucky I've got my looks. Ha! And this ungodly painting talent. Sorry, I was channeling Calculon for a minute there. Anyways, we got that. So we got this. Okay. Now, the only problem you're going to run into with doing multiple colors in the same section is consistency on lighting and shadows. You want to make sure the color blends from one end all the way down. So that's something we'll have to look at. But we'll be alright. Actually, that looks pretty good. Huh. And we'll wait on the others to do that right now. It's time to talk about shading. Shading adds shadows, depths, basically the same as contrast, but it's just by itself. So with shading, what you want to do is you want to drop it in the recesses and pull it up. This will deepen the color and will give you good consistency overall. Now, we're back here along the foot. You just want to run it across and let it do the work. Gravity was your friend here. Now, you can also, if you want, add a little here. It's supposed to give a metallic look, but honestly, it just kind of dirties the metal, which is still good. I mean, these guys live underground, right? So who said their armor has to be pristine and shiny? Yeah. Take a little bit, wick a little bit, wick a little. I'll get it out in a minute. You want to wick a little bit of that moisture away, because if it pools in the wrong place and you pull the water up, or you pull the liquid up, it will create a kind of like anti-shadow bubble, which is not very appetizing or good looking. So, let's see, I think, yeah, let's go with, let's do, this is gonna get a little crazy here. We're going to take the Avalar Sunset, we're gonna go back into that, and we're gonna make these edges just a little bit crisper, so that it down here where the bolt is, what did I do? Yep, I did. Whoopsie. So go down here. And generally want to give sharpness to it. Like that. A little high. High note. Alright, so that is a leg you can stand on. So once it dries, actually, you know what? We're going to take a little bit of the Uriel. I know I keep doing this. You're like, hey, I thought you were finished. Unless you're willing to put the model on the table, you're never finished. Just kind of give a little sharpness to it, a little edge. Too much edge, too much edge. Bolt there. Yeah. All right, now we're gonna take. Yep, stay up there. I guess I didn't need those colors. I may touch them up later once I get everything situated. But we're going to add, give him a leg to stand on. Can I? Yep. Okay, good. There we are. Booyah. No! I was afraid of that. Stay. Alright. We're going to do basically what we did there, we're going to do here. So, go ahead and get this knocked out. Alright. Let that dry. And when we come back, I'm going to take a pause, let this dry. I'll finish up the leg, and when we come back, we'll get the arms and everything else. And we are back. I finished the leg up, so nice and good. I put his legs on him, and he stands on his own. He's on his own 2 feet now. And believe it or not, I haven't had a drop of caffeine this morning. I need coffee. Anyways, we're okay. Another good little tip is that doesn't seem right. Let's put that, yeah, like that. Another little tip is what's known as a dry fit. Generally speaking, you want to put pieces together so that they fit first. And then once you get them nice and fitted, how's that look? That looks good. All right. Okay. You just kind of lay about. All right. Now, we're gonna do the small arm first since it's gonna be the easiest. Keeping with our colors, I'm gonna go with wrong end. Go with our yellow on our armor. And then alright. And that is that. Work on this other one. So we got this going. Okay. Alright, and don't forget the moon symbol at the end of the staff scythe thingy. I don't know if many of you, if you're watching this, you're either A, really bored, or you're starting a Gloomspite Gitz army and you're wanting to paint a Loonboss. So, little background on these little lunatics. They are worshippers of the bad moon, and they follow it wherever. They have many different stories. We'll get to some of those later. First things first, I want to paint the handle. So we're going to take the contrast, again with the contrasts. Wildwood! It's good for wood coloring. I could have just as easily gone with Gruntifer or any basic brownish color would have been fine, but I like the way the Gruntifer looks, so we're going to drop a little bit in here. Make it look like it's an actual piece of wood. Oh, but I would. We would like the wood. Yes, very good. To answer any questions, no, I do not take medicine, and I may or may not be insane, but I don't take medicine for it. I don't need to. I've got you all fooled. Nah, I'm kidding. I'm actually just adding a little bit of levity to the situation. Alright. Now, that is actually looks fairly covered. Almost forgot a spot. It's always those small spots that you always miss, you know? Okay. Now, go up in here. No. No. I'll find it eventually. Here we are. Snakebite leather. Gives a nice leathery appearance. And we're going to add that to the bottom here. Let's shake that up a little bit better. Shake it up, baby. God, don't want me singing. Although, just because I can't sing doesn't mean I won't. Alright, now, I got a little bit too much there, so with that, wick that away. And actually, if you're feeling a bit creative, you can fill it in here, almost like it's, I don't know if you can actually see that. Yeah, I know, I gotta get a better camera. Uncle Fuzzy, you need a better camera. I know. Donate to me. Nah, I'm kidding. I don't want your money. I don't ask people for money. Just not me. doesn't coheres with the fuzzitude. And yes, fuzzitude is a real thing. It's the fuzzy attitude. Now, wood is dry, so we're going to take a little bit of Gorth Brown and a little bit of a thinner brush. Yeah, 0.5, that'll work. A little bit on the paint. Water. Dry that off a bit. Now, what we're going to do is we don't want all of this painted. You know what I'm going to do? It's generally speaking not something you're supposed to do, but it's irritating me and I'm having a bad day, so we're going to snip that piece off. Okay, so what we're going to do is, can't really see it, but we're going to take and do some very light highlight lines along the splintery parts of the wood. See, most of the time when a Git is getting materials, he's scavenging from everybody else. He's taking wood from here, leather from there, so it's all very patchworky, which you can work to your advantage if you're so inclined. Alright, so that's dry, so we're going to take our Nuln oil. And we're going to go ahead and oil up this arm. We're going to shade this in a bit. We definitely shade it darker down in this recess so that it gives a little bit more depth. Alright. Yeah, that looks good. Now, I'm going to do this metal here. I'm going to go back over in the lead belcher. I'm just going to make sure that this is completely coated. Come on, hold still. Hold still. Alright. Now, once that dries, set that over there. And that. Once that part dries, we may actually wait on that to finish it up. A lot of spots I haven't finished yet. The body here, because there's some other stuff I have to do to it as well. So we're just kind of winging it. Whoa, we're halfway there. We're winging with a prayer. Ugh. Where did that come from? Yeah, I know, that was horrible. It was a bad joke. Alright. Now, we're going to set this aside. We're going to shift gears slightly. And we're going to work with the mushroom friends. Hey, get back on there. No one said you could leave. Alright. So, let's see. Do I have one? I have one, I just can't find it. You know, next time I do one of these videos, I really need to have everything in hand when I need it. This is just kind of made off the fly. So what we're going to do is not that. Blood angels. We're going to take some blood angels. Yeah. Let's see here. Another one fresh from the pot. And we're going to focus on this mushroom. And we're going to work on painting this whole mushroom a nice red. Mushrooms do various things in git culture, bloom spike culture. Anything from mild hallucinogens to toxins to basically acting as steroids. There's actually an effect called the red cap, which is, again, this one here, where in fact you say you're doing a red cap effect, and your army unit guy, whatever, who is under the effect, basically gets roided out for an entire turn. And he acts like a total goober. Wraithbone, that'll work. So, yeah. Wraithbone, not quite a white, kind of like an off-white, but it works. So we're gonna Wraithbone underneath here. Gonna now I'm doing this. Unfortunately, I misplaced the book, so I don't have the exact colors for like the mushrooms and whatnot, so I'm basically winging it here, which is pretty much how I do almost every model. I wing it. Alright, so I do know that that is purplish, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, here we are, and I'm going to paint with the Drusilla Violet. I know you're thinking, what? I thought you said this was just for shading purposes. Well, it can be. See, what I'm doing is I'm taking the shading of the Drusilla Violet, setting it here, and basically giving this little guy a tint. So he's not quite purple, but he's not white either. He's just kind of... I hear everybody thinking, what? Uncle Fuzzy's lost his mind. Oh, yeah, I have to have something in order to lose it, but I digress. I see, by giving that Drusilla Violet, I have, in effect, given a nice light shade. Reminds me of a little mushroom. There was a movie, long time, about mid-90s, I want to say, so it's not too long ago, but long enough. It's called Mom and Dad Save the World. It was one of those little indie little deals, and I can't remember the actor's name, but he played Charles Dietz in Beetlejuice. He was the main character, and his wife was kidnapped by an alien warlord played by John Lovitz. crazy as heck. But getting back to my point, the going blue here, the Talisard blue, just almost, I got to ranting and I forgot to say that. But Talisard blue here. Anyways, they're on this alien planet and they meet this adorable little pale purple mushroom. It was absolutely just cute as a button. Unfortunately, it was also quite carnivorous and tried to eat everybody, so 6 one, half dozen the other. We're gonna go. Let's go Basilicum Gray. We'll do a grayish with this. I like using contrasts for mushrooms because, to be honest, painting every single strand of a mushroom is tedious and quite irritating, and I don't want to do it, so this kind of a little shortcut. So yeah, a little bit of a shortcut. Cup. Thinking about the Rugrats show. Old school. Yeah, I know, I'm old. I'm old. We're going to go back to the Blood Angels. Hit the spots that kind of missed. Just sort of smooth this out some. Like that. So, yeah. Ha ha. Now, we're going to take so we've got our blue mushroom, gray bottom. We got, I'm gonna do those eyes. I'm thinking maybe a pinkish. No. Let's go. So hard to choose a color sometimes. There we go. We'll go Gulman Flesh. Kind of make it look like a wormy color. Mostly this is used for skin tones, but I think, almost had an accent there. See what I'm talking about? Always put your colors to the side. Yeah. Colors to the side when you're done with them so that you don't knock them over. Getting a nice build of colors here. This is not good. It is, but it isn't. But what are you going to do? Okay, so where's my camera at? There we are. So do these little eye stalk deals. I think I run squigs in my gloom spites, and I would love to see different variations on the squig. So far, the only squigs we have are the little two-legged creatures, which adorable, don't get me wrong. I love those little balls of teeth. But I've noticed that 40K models, they have other types of squigs, which, to be quite honest, isn't there. 40K models, orcs, have bat squigs. I would love to see a unit of bat squigs in AOS. That would be, I think, awesome. Kind of siphon this color away. There we are. We're going to go back into the Wraithbone. I want to do the eyes in the Wraithbone, but not yet. I want to wait for that Goleman's flesh to dry. I am going to hit these eyes here. And then I'm going to do the dots on the mushroom. I don't know the exact name of the mushroom, the scientific name, but it is, of course, the same mushroom you see from the Super Mario Brothers, the red mushroom that makes Mario bigger, or Luigi, depending on if you're player 1 or player 2. But again, that's with that particular mushroom in real life is a powerful hallucinogen. Now, I used that word before, it's a big word. A hallucinogen, for those of you who don't know, is something that makes you see other things. Like, for example, you eat that mushroom and you can see dragons, or little baby wombats where none exist, or, just random things. And you can also get high as a kite. And if you eat enough of the little buggers, you can die. They will kill you. Okay, so let's see. We've got the Basilicum Gray. Got the Tesselar Blue. Let's touch that back up. I think I'm gonna go here probably with Agros Dunes. Just to kind of give it an earthy sort of deal. Yeah, give it sort of an earthy sort of texture. I know it's kind of blending in with the golem flesh, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Is it? Because generally speaking, you want a worm or worm-like mass would want to blend in, so they're not eaten by bigger and meaner monsters. Now, I said before about the different types of squigs. Model-wise, unfortunately, all we have is the regular squig that everybody knows and loves. But in the book, if you actually get a chance to pick up the Gloomspite Get Battle Tome, I highly recommend it. It's a great read. They describe many different types of squigs. There's glowing squigs, there's tunneling squigs, there's squigs that are just for eating. But here we are with our mushrooms. No, I'm not going to make a mushroom pun. I know you're probably expecting it. Uncle Fuzzy's going to make a mushroom pun. No, I'm not. But why? We like mushroom puns. Trying to think if I should add some shading to this. Yeah, why not? Let's go with a little, no, that's not right. Here we are. Reekland's Flesh Shade. think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. I have no teeth, so my pronunciations are off. Lesson to all kitties. Take care of your choppers. Beautiful. Give that a nice... Don't want too much. So you notice how I'm going underneath to where the cap is, starting here and working my way down and then back up. This gives me more control over where the shading goes. We're good. Nice. Nice. Alright. Put that flesh shade up. Might need it later, might not. I don't know yet. I know what I do want to do is I want to take this guy. He needs a name. Go ahead and put in the comments section what he should be called. He needs a name. Every good Loonboss needs a name. So, just call him the Loonboss for now. Because he's the boss of the loons. Alright, so, again, we see with the dry fitting, we want to make sure that that fits in. And I think the leg's going to fall off. Yep. Come on. I think what we might have to do is a little camouflage painting. Because with the way this is fitting, this little lip part is not going to sit right. So we're going to drop that down there for color. We're just going to take this and we're going to paint this lip red. This little lip piece right here. Alright, there we are. And we're going to set it so that it blends and matches. Where's my glue? Why did I shake up the glue? I don't know. I'm used to shaking things up around here. Preemptive, just in case. So, let's just dry enough, I guess. So, standing on the shroom, and as you can see, hardly any white. I may have to go back in there and touch that up, but point is, he is actually looks pretty good. I'm going to take some of the wildwood. I just noticed that I missed a spot. The little string that the moon icon is hanging from. So, yeah, there we go. Put it down a little bit. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now we got this. Let's see. That's fairly good. So go ahead and put this on. Now with arms like this that have multiple pieces, you always want to do this part. You always want to do the smallest part first. The way it's connected. That way, nothing seems kind of screwy when you're done with it. Okay, so we'll put that there. Yes. Haha. See? down a little bit there. Now, no, hang on. Really? He wasn't. Oh, come on. Oh, for the love of Pete. Sometimes things don't always go your way, and you have to figure out. Ah, there we are. Hey, look. Haha. Let's see if we can't get that part out. May have to repaint that part, but it'll be alright. Scrape off this sticky tack. And we're going to go ahead. There we are. I'm going to put that down generally in the center. And go from there. Alright. So, let's see here. Why did this not work right? Alright. Now, sometimes this will happen where the glue will mess up the paint. This is an occupational hazard. Not much you can do to fix it. The only thing you can do is paint it, is touch it back up when the glue's dry. Alright, so what we're gonna do is, honestly, I think I'm gonna shirk conventional wisdom right now and go ahead and attach. I may be wrong. You may have to glue these two pieces together first, like here. Come on. Garfield! That was uncalled for. Really? Oh, it's infernal. Trying to keep this thing PG. So I'm trying very, very hard not to cuss. Okay. So that fits into it there. And that one fits there. Let's get this glued. Okay, we're going to do this sort of semi-backwards. More than likely the next model I do will be completely put together, more or less. Although I doubt it, because the next model on my list is blasted all. I'm going to have to take a break, let all this dry, so that we can get it working. Alright, after some off-camera finagling, a lot of naughty words, I was able to get him glued on. Okay, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and paint this. This is going to be a fairly simple thing. We're just going to do red mushrooms. So take the Blood Angel's armor, or Blood Angel's red, I should say. It's not actual armor, but you can use it for armor. Did a Mephiston recently, and the Blood Angel's armor actually helped speed the process up with his clothing. The male's like 90% red. Which, if you know the Blood Angels, you know they're basically space vampires. So the red kind of fits. So we got this, we got that, we got little song, little dance, Batman's head on lance. I'm ranting today. I'm in one of those moods where I just need to rant. Okay. Boom. Ha ha ha. Okay. Let's take. Tweezers are usually good for getting like straggled hairs. If you're not careful when you base, you can get these little straggly hair deals. They're very irritating. Fortunately for me, I was a master at the game operation. So we'll go back to our flesh shade. We'll coat these beauties in the, coat the bottom of these beauties, I should say, in the flesh shade. Give it a little color. A little color. Alright. We got our red caps. Okay. So, these are going to go in here, but not yet. This is actually going to attach here. You want to make sure you always dry fit first, just to make sure that everything is going to go smoothly, which I don't think this is going to at this point. Now, old man Murphy is giving your Uncle Fuzzy a run for his money today. Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Murphy was a jerk. And a bit of a douchebag, but what are you going to do? Okay, so that's that. Alright, now that the dry fit has almost destroyed the model, we're going to put some glue on this. We'll set it back in there. Come on. Get in there. Oh, come on. There we are. Close enough for government work. Alright. Back to our lead belcher. We're going to belch some lead. And we're just going to cover this part. I'm not going to do the shoulder pads because I've got other plans for that. But we are going to coat this happy little guy in his armor. Really, Tora? My cat. Yeah. Alright. Stay. Good, crazy, loon armored guy. Okay. Avalon Sunset. Get into the little on his shoulder, little on the bicep, but that's okay. I can go back over that later. No big deal. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So now to address this sickle, so we're gonna go with Iron Breaker, which is a good color for metals, especially like steels and stuff. So that's kind of what this is. Yeah, we'll do Iron Breaker, and then see what we want with the Iron Breaker is we want to give this a little bit of an edge without actually having to highlight it. And we'll come back here and we'll do the same on this side. Now, that's that. Now, I'm going to take, not you, here we are. Actually, I did that backwards. Okay, well, I did that backwards, but it's all good because I can always redo it. That's the beauty of metal colors, is they don't tend to show up a little much. What we're going to do is for the edge, we're going to go with Grey Knight's Steel. I don't know if you actually see that. It's kind of a silveryish color. It's actually very nice. Gives sort of a sharpened edge. Can you see that? Where is that? There we go. See how the light catches it? Yeah. And then on the underside, the same. Now, we'll take the Iron Breaker. And we will do the outside of it. And we do two different shades of metal because metal has many different textures. Sharpened metal, such as the edges here and here, tend to have a shinier sort of effect. Now, there we go. That's that. Now, for an even sharper edge, yeah, we're gonna go with a non-Citadel color. I was thinking, oh, Uncle Fuzzy, you have non-Citadel colors. Yeah, I said before I do. So we're gonna go with a nice plate mail metal from our old friends at War Painter, Army Painter. Drop that on the pad there. Can you see that? Let's spin this around. There we are. There we are. Now, I'm gonna take the plate mail. I'm gonna pop open a little bit of this Rune Fang Steel. It's an extremely dosed pigment, and we're going to mix it with the plate mail just to kind of give it a shiny, just to make the plate mail kind of shiny. So we're going to just hit some of the edges just to kind of make it look like that blade is super, super sharp. on the underside too. Sometimes you can't see the underside, so a lot of people will just want to say, screw it, we'll just won't do the underside. But if you're truly a professional, you're going to want to do the underside too, just to kind of have it there. So we're going to let that dry, and I'm going to attach the mushroom, and when we come back, we will work on basing. Okay, so we took a break, and we got guy fairly well finished. Put the mushrooms on him. We're going to take some Nuln oil, and we're going to darken in the armor. Forgot to do that part. Take some Nuln oil. Just deepen this in. Just to kind of get up in there. Now, dirty in the shoulder pads too, just a little bit. Kind of metallicized them a bit. I want to leave the head as is because I actually kind of like the way that looks. I'm hitting some spots that I didn't hit before. All right. Okay. Now, basing. Basing is the act of putting stuff that's not part of the model on the model to make it look like its own little environment. You generally want to do this with larger models, or you do larger models. You can do hero pieces like this one. And I'm going to do a fairly simple base with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some PVA glue, also known as good old Elmer's or Crazy Art or whatever, just regular white glue. We use white glue because it dries clear, which is what we want. We're going to take this and we're going to put it all over the model basing. All over the base of the model. You want to make sure to cover everything. And you ask, Uncle Fuzzy, why are you doing this? Well, because we're going to attach something, that's why. So, we got that covered. We'll rinse that off. Don't want that PVA glue drying on your brush, because it's just a pain in the tuchus trying to get it to fix. Okay, so, now we have several options as far as basing goes. You have flocking, which is what makes it like a grass sort of thing. With this particular guy, I don't think we're going to go with this. I think instead, we're going to go with like a gritty, rocky texture. Because most of these guys are stationed in Garan, which is a realm of, or Gur, which is a realm of beasts. It's kill or be killed. So what you want to do, get back on there. Really? Okay. So, like I just showed you while I was talking, you want to take your model and basically just drag it through the rock. Make sure the sides are clean. Now you can do the sides different colors. It's really up to you. It's your model. Or if you're doing commission work, it's whoever. But that is basic basing. That's a simple basing. Now you can do more elaborate stuff. You can do trees. You can do trees. You can do rocks. You can do fallen building pieces. You can do bloody skulls. Whatever. What I would strongly recommend is that if you are going to do basing, base your model basing on a particular realm. There's several to choose from. There's Chamon, the realm of metal. There's Garon, the realm of life. And there are several dozen lore videos and people who can give you a good idea of what each realm consists of. There's a realm of light called Hish, a realm of darkness called Og, which I kind of like that one. Og, I like the way they say that. Og. But since we're doing this guy from the realm of Gur, the realm of beasts, where these little snots are more prevalent, we went ahead and just did a simple rocky base. Nothing fancy, nothing major. So, there it is, folks. He is ready for the tabletop. He's ready for the display case. He's good to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a really good time making it. And go ahead, hit the like bell, notification, do all that good stuff. I'll try to get more of these as I can. I do a lot of commission work, so I get to them when I can. Thank you, and have fun painting.